Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Grow with Content by Justwords. I am Payel, your host. I'm the CEO and founder of Justwords. Today, we have a very interesting episode in front of us. We are going to be pulling the curtains back and answering the questions which come to us from our clients, the most common questions. And this idea was actually brought to us by Koshik, our lead business manager, and who is also in charge of global growth and global sales. So he answers all these questions on a daily basis for people who want to work with us or people who have signed us up as a content agency partner. And we realize that these are very common questions, and more or less everyone asks the same thing. So if you're outsourcing content, or if you are also close to thinking of outsourcing, and you're thinking what happens behind the scene, and you have so many questions about how the content is made, this episode is aimed to give you a fair idea of what to expect, and how can you expect your content to be delivered and all the processes, and the who's going to be writing your content. So we tackle all the main questions that come to us so that you have a fair idea of what to expect from your content agency. Let's get started for today. Please make sure that you watch till the end. And I'm going to be welcoming today two of my colleagues on the show. Hello, Koshik.
Hello everyone. Hello Payal.
Koshik leads our business. He's our business manager, lead business manager, and he is also in charge of global growth and sales, as I already said. And he is the man who closes the deals and works with the clients most. So he's answering these questions on a regular basis. Also, joining us on the show is Nikita. She is our content manager. Welcome, Nikita.
Hi Payal, thank you for having us here. Hello everyone.
She is the person who runs the show basically and makes sure you get the content on time, makes sure that the quality is there, and basically is the person running the show in short. So let's get quickly running and let's get to hear from Kaushik what are the main questions that he answers every day very patiently with our clients. Kaushik, what do you think is which question do you think you answer the most? If we had to, sort of put it from 1 to 10, what would be your first question?
So Payal, the first question that we generally get to hear from our client is, what's our content creation process? What's the onboarding process like? And once they start, when they can start expecting the content from our end, right? The first draft of the content, right?
Right.
So this is the most mostly asked question that I get to hear from our client, and I try to make them understand that we have a process in place which helps us to deliver the content the way they want it to be, right? So once the client is onboarded, we generally fix up a intro call or introduction call with our content team.
This is after the client has signed up.
Yes,
Us as a partner.
Right. So after the first thing or the first touch point with the entire team is the introduction call, where I pull in our content manager Nikita, as well as the editor who will be working on the project.
Right.
Now once and that calls generally goes for around 45 to 1 hour, where we discuss more about their business. We get to understand their business, their services offerings or product offerings, what they are expecting from the content, right? So the content team has their own set of questions, right? How the content needs to be written, what sort of tonality that needs to be followed. Are there any do's and don'ts that need to be followed while creating the content? Are there any brand guidelines? So once the information is gathered, then the content manager sits with the editorial team and prepare content guidelines for the entire project, right? Now once the content guidelines is created, then it's sent across to the client to just have a glance to it. If they need any change into it, they change accordingly, and we finalize the content guidelines.
Right. I understand that sometimes people think that the minute they sign up a content agency, they want the delivery right the next day. So I guess, how is it that we solve this issue? Like how do you decide on what is going to be the delivery deadline? Is it something that they say, or is it something that you guys decide? And of course, I think there is a training process that we have for our team, and there's a certain number of days that we give before we start. Right? Could you probably talk about that a bit?
So we always try to set the expectations right from the very beginning
Okay.
with our client, right? So we tell them that once you start, it's not that you're going to get the content right from day one or from tomorrow itself. We also need time because content is something which is very subjective, right? So we need to understand what they are expecting from us, right? So that's why we always say our client there is a learning phase for us to understand their brand more in detail, so that we can give them the output that they're expecting. So we generally say at least 2 weeks, right, that we need to understand the entire project, right? It's not that we're not going to deliver any of the content pieces in these 2 weeks. We will be sending them content pieces, like 1 or 2 content pieces, to understand if the outcome is based on what they're expecting. Now there may be some feedback comes in, to and fro happens, and this 2 weeks generally helps us to put the entire process in place for them, like how they want to create the content. Now once the process is in place, once we have a full understanding about the expectation about their business, about their service offerings, right, or product offerings, then we generally start selling the content the way they want us to sell.
Right, but does every client, like, what happens when so Nikita, this question is for you. When he says that, okay, this client has been onboarded, what is the process then? Because obviously, I don't think every client waits 2 weeks for delivery, right? So I think, start off with probably a week as a benchmark, and where you have to do the hard work of figuring out which writer will work. So could you explain the process of what happens when he says, yes, okay, we have this client onboarded, let's go ahead, or like, what happens then?
Right. So the basic thing that we do at that time is that we get the first piece of content ready as soon as possible, and then it's sent to the client, and we ask them for some feedback.
Do you have the guidelines then?
We try to have the guidelines by then, but it's not always possible if they want to churn out content very quickly. So that's always our effort to get the guidelines right at the beginning and get the guidelines sorted and approved by the client also right at the beginning, so that we can get it as close to as what they want. But the case that you are asking me about is when the client is kind of a little impatient and they want the content to be delivered as soon as.
But we do still insist on the guidelines, because I think guidelines is extremely important to understand what they have in mind. But yes, I believe that you also start off with clients where the teams where the content doesn't the client doesn't have a guideline,
Right.
and we sort of learn by developing the first piece or a couple of pieces on
Right.
what is expected, and then accordingly we change, and then probably we build the guideline after a
Right.
week or so, after the first delivery is gone.
Right.
That's
So
what you mean?
Yes, that's what I mean. And we also have a very basic questionnaire of 7 to 8 questions,
Right.
where we ask them about the most basic things, like how to write their brand name, what are their competitors, what are the USPs, and things like that, so that at least when we're writing, we have the basics right, so that we don't go wrong right there. And then with feedback and with multiple rounds of feedback, I think we get the right set of guidelines.
So how long would you say that it takes for to settle down a client? Like, on an average, what would you say? Like, I'm sure the client asks, like, okay, there's an expectation that, okay, the minute I start working with a content agency, I will get everything right from the day second. So I think the expectation here, managing the expectation here, how do you do that?
So as Koshik said, we are very transparent and clear with the client right from the beginning. So even if everything is followed as per our processes and we tick all the boxes, even then it takes us, the first month is usually something which, where we kind of face all the challenges and we overcome them. And so the first month, or I would say the first batch of content that's given to us, that can be a little challenging, but after that, it's usually a very smooth sail.
Okay, that's great to hear. So, Koshik, what do you think that this is what your client understands this right from the start? This content creation process. I mean, what you just explained to us. Do we tell them when that do they agree that okay, fine, I'm okay with this 2 weeks of all when we put everything in place, they're fine with it?
Not always, right? It depends completely on the client, right? But we try to make everything transparent to them. No hiding things, because we always try to, set the expectation right from the beginning, right from the very beginning, right? So they might come back and say that, yeah, Kaushik, we need to, need to get this content as soon as possible. But we always try to tell them that we're in a process where we want to, give you the, expected outcome that you want us to provide, right? And for that, we have to follow this process.
Right. And what happens when it's an SME content, when you need an expert to do it? How does the process work there? I would like to know from both of you, like, what do we tell our clients? Like, for example, if it's a SaaS client, if it's, a coaching client, or maybe it's, an enterprise client which has very definite products, and you need to know the product to write the content. How do you make sure that you can deliver that kind of expertise content?
So first of all, when such niche content is written or some requirement comes in, the client always asks whether we do have a specialized writer in this particular domain or not, right? So mapping out the writer is a very crucial part for our process. That's where Nikita helps in, right? She understands the project, she understands the product, and basis on that, she maps out the writer, right? Now, not only just mapping out the right set of writer would help, because every products and every business offerings are different, right? So you always ask for a product demo, right, where the respective person can get to know more about the product, get details about the product, get into depth of it. Until and unless the writer or the editor who will be working on that particular project get to know about that product in detail, they will not be able to give the outcome that the client want us to give, right? So these sessions, this product demo helps the writer and the team to understand and get what they want to deliver what they want us to deliver.
Right. So we move on to the second question. What do you think is what would you grade as the second question, that the most common question?
Right. So, majorly the content requirement that we get from our client is when they need a huge chunk of content, right? They need to they want to churn out a lot of content on their website or on other platforms. So we always get these questions there, that how do you ensure quality while churning out quantity, right? So so there we always say that we have a set process in place, right? That helps us to consistent the quality as well as the delivery.
Right.
And definitely there the content team plays a crucial role over there, because every big project or every big project in terms of the volume, we always go for a small pilot, right? Maybe with 4 or 5 articles or 10 articles to start with. That helps us to set up their entire process in terms of understanding their product, understanding their business,
Also
what sort of
understanding the challenges that we are going
yes
to face.
yes understanding the challenges. Along with that, the type of outcome they want us to deliver, right? Now this pilot project helps us to set up the process, and once we start with the entire project, we have not seen that there has been any hiccups or any challenges came across. Maybe in between some challenges comes from the if there are any changes at their end, at their products changes, or their how they want to communicate, if that changes, right? Then some of the limitations come, the challenges comes, but there the experienced content team is there. They generally take that up very easily and help them to deliver the content.
Right. So, Nikita, I just wanted to know from you that I'm sure you deal with a lot of clients. You know, we always get clients where there is very unique demand. So, for example, it's for our outside clients, there are dental clients, um, uh, there are various sorts of clients where you need special expertise, right? And there is sometimes tech clients, there are health clients, there are ed tech clients. Okay, so where you need to really understand the product. So how do you make sure that the quality doesn't quality stays as is promised? Because Justwords is renowned for quality, and we've been here for 15 years in the industry. And one of the reasons why people keep coming back to us, even old clients where someone worked there and was coordinating with us, we've always seen people coming back. They've changed companies and they just take us with them, right? And that's one of the consistent feedback that we've got, is that Justwords always guarantees quality, right? So I think, could you explain a bit about how does the content team ensure quality?
So that's a great question, actually. And churning out quantity while ensuring quality is the basic thing that every agency should be able to do, because it's on us when a company is outsourcing their content needs. It's because they want quantity with quality. So, and by quantity I mean 500 to 1000 articles a month. So, dealing with such a large volume, it requires very strong processes, and that is something we're really good at. So, we have different stages of content creation process, starting from the writers. So, writers, then there are editors, depending on the requirement of the project. There may also be some reviewers and fact checkers, and all projects have some quality checkers also, and there's also the operations team there. So along these all 4 to 5 stages, there are very strict SOPs that are in place for every stage of the process. And the writers, editors, ops team, everybody is trained in a way that they follow the processes no matter what. So that is the basic of how you can ensure consistency and quality even when you're generating volume, because every person at every stage of the process is following that SOP.
Yeah. And I think one of our hallmarks is also the fact that we have a very experienced editorial team, which each one of them come in with a lot of experience. And I think that is one of our differentiating factors, because, writers, of course, are writing, but checking what they are writing, fact checking what they are writing, and giving them the feedback sometimes makes a lot of difference. And I think that is where the Justwords difference, quality difference comes in, because we are, when an editor is not happy, you do send it back, right? So, and it's sometimes pretty exhausting for the writers, but yeah, that is the process we follow. And it's like we explain it, that we have a very rigorous editing process, and that's how we maintain quality. I guess that's an important part, right? And I want to know also, how is it that you are how do you map the right? Because I think this is a question that Koshik, I'm sure you get, that how do you ensure that the right writer is working on my project?
Yeah.
Right? You do
Yeah.
get that question?
Yes. So that's, I guess, in the level of 10, the third most asked questions that the client asks to us, like, how do you, so what sort of writers are going to work on my project? Are they
Right.
experienced writer? Are they from my industry? Let's, for an example, like if a health client comes to us for writing content, they always ask, like, is there any doctor who's going to write the content for us?
Right.
Or because they understand that generic writers cannot understand the health jargons and all of it, right? So they always ask whether a doctor is going to write the content, or somebody from the health domain is going to write the content or not.
Right.
So that time you always say, we do have doctors as well in our writing team, right, who write content for all, like most of our health client, right? So we always try to map the writing in such a way who either they have a prior experience in writing in their domain, or they are subject matter experts from their domain, right? So just the way I say, like for any dentists, if you're writing a content, we always try and hire a writer from the dentist background, or maybe a doctor, who has studied dentistry, and that's how we try to map the writer. Now, after that, once the projects kicks in, once Nikita get to know more about the project, then she also become somebody who understand what sort of writer requires. She understand whether the depth of the content requires SME or not, right? Whether it can be written by a generic writer or not, right? So there, Nikita's expertise helps a lot.
Yeah. So Nikita, how do you decide whether the content needs an SME expert? Like we have a lot of finance and insurance clients, right?
Right.
And even health clients, right? So how do you form the team? Like how does as a client, how am I ensured that I'm going to get the right writers on my batch? And I think that's also a very critical decision because that finally gives me the right output. Right, and that makes the difference that Justwords creates. So, could you elaborate a bit on that?
Right. So when we get the requirement for a new client, we get on the calls with them. We understand what they need. What I usually ask the clients is that can you share something that you actually liked? Something, do you have kind of a sample or something that you've written in house, or a sample from your competitors that you liked? So I usually personally go through the content that's written over there, and then I try to map it out to the pool of writers that we already have. Usually we get the right set of writers there itself because we've been in the industry for more than a decade now, and we have a very good and strong pool of writers. So we usually get the writers there, and then the next step is to train those writers in that particular project, because we are sure of the quality of the writers always, because that is the only reason they're onboarded. Even our writer onboarding process is very strong and strict. So we're sure of the quality of the writers when they're onboarded, but every project has different needs. The style of writing may not match the project. The tone may not match. Maybe the writer, even when they're writing about healthcare content, they want to write it in a way like a storytelling kind of way, and that's not what the client needs. So the writer is great, but they're not matching the project requirement. That's where the training comes in.
Right.
Because we are dependent on the writers for the facts, the accuracy, and the research. Rest of the things can be done and can be corrected through training. So the training is the most important part of mapping out the writers. And usually we take that elaborate window of when the pilot project is going on. So we take that time to train those writers, and how that training happens is that I need to be very clear on what the client needs, and the editorial team needs to be very clear about what the requirement of the client is. So we all get on a call with the writers again and again. And then train them as to where they went wrong. We go through the copies line by line and then tell them what is wrong, what's working, what's not working. And I think within 6 to 7 copies, the writers are trained.
Right, and I think that what defines the Justwords quality, the guarantee of quality that we give is also because we invest a lot in coaching and training the writers, and that is what makes our editorial team extremely strong, because everyone is invested in the process of coaching. Because without coaching and training, every writer might be great, but the point is, as you rightly said, that when the writer's style does not match with what the client wants, that's where the problem comes up. And then we also have the Justwords excellence, editorial excellence training, which helps editors improve the quality of editors as well as writers, and that is how we make the quality difference, I guess. Okay, Koshik, back to you on what are the other questions.
The fourth comes is like along with content, right? What all they can expect from us, right? Not only the textual content, or are we going to help them with the topic, the structure, or the content, whatever content that we're going to deliver to them is going to be SEO optimized? Will the interlinking will be done? There will be visuals in the content or not? So this is the fourth most question that the client generally asks me.
So that's probably because we offer not just content, we offer content, marketing, SEO. social media, website development. So I think when you're taking up an SEO client, we are responsible for kind of creating content which will create the base for good SEO. And for that, you need to be, I think you need to optimize. And of course, for content marketing, you need optimized content. You need good distribution. So do we do that? What do we tell our clients then?
So when it comes to just basic content creation, where the client, tell us that I only need the content, everything will be given from our end, the topic, the structure, the keywords, everything, right? We give them, we all always tell them that whatever content that we're going to deliver, it's going to be SEO optimized.
So what are the things, just for clarity's sake, what are the things that you guys need to create content? Like you start with what are the
Right. So if it's only writing content, we need them to give us the topic, the keywords that needs to be embedded in the content. If they're asking for a plagiarism report and AI report, we try to attach that with our content delivery, right? If they have any further requirement on that content, like they also need banners for the blog, or they need visuals inside the blogs, or they also need video snippets out of it, right? Then those things comes as an add-on, right? It's if the basic content writing costs something, then the add-ons will cost extra for them. So that's how we place the things for content creation.
Right. What about structures? Like, what happens with structures?
Structure just varies basically. Sometimes the client gives us a structure, or sometimes client asks us to give them the structure. So if we are giving them the structure, then there is an add-on comes along with the basic content creation.
And that's not an issue, right? Like, I mean, how do you create structures?
So it depends. A lot of times we take help from the SEO team also to create the structures. But for some projects, it's also easier and possible for the content team to create the structures themselves by doing their own research, and because they have the whole context of what should go in there, what is lacking, and all that. So it's easier for the content team also to sometimes create the structures, but a lot of time we do take help from the SEO experts as well.
Right. Right. Okay. So essentially we can give topics and titles and structure and interlinking and everything.
We can own up the entire process, right? We can own up the entire process if they want us to. Like we do also provide content marketing service, right? Where we take up the entire gamut of content marketing, right? Starting from keyword research, topic identification and topic research, how the structure should be, how we can drive results through content, right? So there we give the entire bit of it. Right. Now it depends based on the requirement. Then we mold the things for our client and deliver to them.
Okay. And I think we are coming. I think one question which I think you do get and which you keep discussing with me is the question about AI. So could you elaborate on that? And I would like Nikita's take on that as well.
So two years back, when I used to talk to our client or prospects, they never I never used to get such questions. But in this 2 years, this question has increased like anything from our client. So that's why I would love to keep it at the fifth place or fifth position out of 10. So how do you ensure you give authentic content, right? Will they get AI report, or how does the pricing decided based on that, right? So we always tell them that the process that we have, right? The process is completely manual, right? We do not take help of AI to write content. People are using AI to doing research and all of it, but while writing the content, it's not being generated through AI. But then also, client asks us to give them reports, right? We do have some of the tools in place from where we give them the reports. Now, if the client asks us to provide a report from a premium tool or anything, then we generally ask them to give us a subscription to give the report of the content.
Yeah, but generally we do give, Nikita, if you could explain this a little bit more.
Right. So this is a question that we get asked almost any time a client is onboarded or when we start working with them. So again, the answer lies in our processes, that how we ensure that we deliver authentic content, because the processes are extremely strong and transparent also. So where we have internal proctoring tools to check whether the content is copied from somewhere else and then manipulated, or whether it's written by a writer. So we can basically see how the content is written. And then it gets through the editorial check. So when the content is written, we definitely generate a report at that end. And then once it's edited, we try not to generate another report unless the client asks for it, because the authenticity of the content is proved at the writer's stage. What
That's
the editor
that's the most original time to get the tool report, I guess, right?
Right.
And the multiple times you take a report, the quality gets diluted. Is it?
It does get diluted, because if you're changing the content only to pass it through a tool, the only way to do it is dilute the quality, make grammar errors, make spacing errors, make punctuation errors, or write in a weird way that does not make sense to the reader, and you'll get a clean report very quickly. So what we try to do is we get the report when we ask the writer to give us a report, plus we can always see how the writer is creating content. So these two checks help us verify if the content is authentic or not. Then when it comes to the editor's desk, the editors refine the content. After that, not too many changes are done. Even if, they want a lot of changes, the copy gets sent back to the writer and the writer may update the reports. But after editing is done, the reports are not updated because we have already checked it for authenticity.
Let's talk about how accurate you feel are the tools, because I think that's also a question that the clients ask us, that we want this tool report or that tool report, and sometimes there's ever since AI has disrupted our industry, this is a fight that you have to explain that, okay, we are writing this in-house, or everything is written by humans, okay? And even then, after that, there is a report which says that, okay, it is maybe 50% copied from AI. I mean, AI report is saying that looks like it's not human generated, right? So do you think the tools give a accurate report? Is there anything, what's your take on that? And secondly, what do you do when such things happen?
So if you're asking me whether the reports generated by AI detection tools are correct or not, I would say they're not. And that is also what the companies who are providing these tools also say. Like if you go to their websites, the biggest ones being Originality.ai, Zero GPT, CopyLeaks, Quillbot, all of them have a very small disclaimer towards the end of the report, which says that, do not take this as a guarantee that we are correct. This may be a false report. And so I do not trust these reports at all. What I do trust is our editorial team and our processes at Justwords, because that guarantees the quality of content. These reports do not. So I do not trust this report, and I do not think that that should be a measure of the quality of the content that we are providing.
Right. Awesome. Is there any other questions that you have on your mind?
Yeah. So I generally, we generally get this question asked is, why does web page content costlier than website blogs, right? When it comes to website blogs, yeah, definitely it helps. Is a traffic generation engine where we try to answer the queries for our blog for our readers, right? Which helps us to drive traffic. But when it comes to web page, it generally helps them to convert, right? Because every web page, when a person lands on a web page, they look for something at the end of the page or in between of the page, right? So that they can reach out at least, or they wanted to get to know more about it, So every web page content, just not the content, it also requires the banner copies, the CTAs in place, so that that makes the reader stick to that page and ultimately take the necessary actions out of it. So creating a web page content, it's just not require a content writer to write. It requires copywriter who also helps comes up with the ideas about banners, ideas about the CTAs, and which get married with the content creation or the content writing part of it, which also get optimized as per SEO and all. So that's the only reason the cost or the cost for web page content, it's more than our website blogs or any sort of blogs or articles.
Right. And I also think when you are creating the web page content, it is, you have to think much more. There's a structure you have to think of. There's a content architecture that you have to think of. You need more specialized writers. You need to understand the business. So basically, even if you have to write 5 pages, you have to understand the whole, what the business is. So you're writing a home page or a service page, you have to understand the product, the services. That's a lot of time investment, right? So and then of course there is optimization part, there is the CTA part, there is every service page and homepage has to deliver conversion. So I think that's also a big angle, and that is why there's more time investment. You need more resources. You need to think more, I guess. So yeah, I guess that's why we also price this product significantly higher than the normal blogs, right? Okay, thank you for answering that. And I think we've covered most of the questions.
One last question
Yeah.
that I generally get to hear from our client. That is, what all support do we require, right? From the client's end or the prospect's end to start a project,
Right.
right? So this is another most important question that I generally get to hear. So you always say that whatever you can send us, right, about the company, about your product, about your services. If you have a product deck, if you have a corporate deck ready, right, please send us across, because that will give us an understanding, in-depth understanding about your brand, in-depth understanding about your product and offerings, because that's you generally created for for your own sales purpose, right? Those are more towards feature of the company, feature of the product, feature of the services. So if we get to know more about it, so it helps the team to deliver the content on a better way. So that's one of the
understanding of the
support.
company.
Yeah, understanding the company. Also, if they have any brand guidelines
Right.
that need to be followed while writing the content, and if they have any, some companies has some do's and don'ts. They have their own reference libraries from where to say source the information from. So all of that we ask from the client to give us.
Right. So I think that's a wrap. I hope you have got a fair understanding of how content is created at a content agency. And I think finally, great content is a lot about teamwork, about strategy, about planning, about processes, about operations, and how well everything is merged together. I hope today's episode gave you a clear understanding of how you can manage your content investment and what you can expect out of it. If you have any further questions, feel free to reach us and we can definitely answer them back. See you again for the next episode. Have a good day. Bye bye.